Hey there, this is Jyotsna Ramachandran here, and in this week's video, I'm going to talk to you about the 3S to effectively work from home. Now, I know a lot of you are working from home these days. Some of you may already be working from home as entrepreneurs. You chose to work from home, or some of you are forced to work from home because your offices didn't want you to take the risk of traveling to your offices, right? So maybe this is a new thing for you and you are completely clueless and it's very chaotic to work from home. So whatever be the case, I thought let me share with you some of the things that have been working for me. So to give you a background, I have been working from my home for the last 8 years. I think since the time I quit my job and started my own businesses, I've been working from home. It started at working from my dining table, bedroom, sofa, everywhere. But now I have a more structured setup and things are much more productive right now for me. So let me share with you the 3 S's that have worked for me. The first S is space. So once you realize that you need to work from home, you need to give that space that kind of respect, and it has to be a dedicated workspace. So that is the first thing I wanted to tell you. You cannot just work from anywhere you want depending on your mood that day. So initially I started out like that, but I realized how unproductive and how distracted it can be when you are sitting on the couch and your spouse or kids are jumping around all around the place. So it becomes very, very distracting. So you need to have a dedicated office space. It need not be a very plush home office that has a dedicated room or something. If that is not possible for you, even a small section of your room can be considered as your home office. If you see right now, I'm talking to you from my home office here in Chennai. So this is basically a section of my bedroom. It's not a separate room. My husband enjoys a separate room as his office. That's because clients come to visit him. He is a relationship counselor. So people come to him. They have their sessions. So we have given him a separate room for that. But for me, my clients never come to meet me in person. It's all online. So I'm happy and comfortable with my demarcated space inside my bedroom. So that is how I have been able to structure this office. So create a space that you would like to call as your office space. The second thing you need to remember is make sure it is completely decluttered and you just have the minimal stuff that is required for your office. Because at home, I'm sure there is a lot of stuff, lots of books, files and papers lying around everywhere. But at least when it comes to your office space, make sure you don't have that clutter. Declutter it so that you can actually focus on your work and do not get distracted by other things. The next thing I wanted to tell you is what is most important for people working from home is high-speed internet. Now, up until now, you might not have used the internet at your home to the fullest capacity. You might have just had your data from your mobile acting as your standby internet for your computer as well. But right now, because you have to work from home, you cannot afford to be less productive because of the low speed of the internet. So have the highest possible bandwidth. Like for me, in Chennai right now, I have 100 Mbps upload speed and download speed because that's the maximum that's available. And it's very important for me because I cannot be waiting for a website to load, or I cannot be waiting when my webinar is going on and something is getting hanged somewhere. So that's not even allowed for me. So that's why I have invested in a high-speed internet, and it doesn't cost much. In India, anything in the range of 800 to 1,000 bucks is what you need to spend for good quality internet. So if working from home is going to be a long-term solution for you, or maybe your office has decided that you work better if you don't come to office, then you need to start looking for better ways to work from home, right? So think about this. The next thing you should think about is the hardware. So when it comes to hardware, there are a few things that you need to really consider and invest. Again, if this is going to be a long-term solution for you and you have to work from home for extended periods of time, or suddenly in this sabbatical you decide that you're going to quit your job and become an entrepreneur, and to start off you don't want to go to a co-working space or invest in a separate office and you want to start off by working from home, then you have to invest in good quality hardware. So the first thing you should look at is laptop. So since the time I've got my MacBook Air, my productivity has been really high because again about the experience of using that laptop. It is super efficient and it's just a pleasure to work on it after working for years on a PC, right? So invest in a high speed, good quality laptop. For me, there are certain requirements. I need a webcam because I do videos like this. I get on video calls with my team members. I get on weekly masterminds with my community members and students. So for me, webcam is essential. So I have a good webcam. I have a good microphone. So this is my microphone. It is a blue snowball. It's not too expensive as well. So I'll leave the links to all the hardware and software that I use. So if you think it might be useful for you, you please go ahead and pick it up. The other thing that I use sometimes is a wireless keyboard and a wireless mouse, because sometimes I just want to slightly, rest on my chair and I don't want to be leaning on the computer all the time. So it really helps. So invest in good hardware. The next thing is software. Now, I've not mentioned anything specific here because it totally depends on your nature of work. If you're a designer and you're used to working with some Adobe software in your office, and you have to work for the next couple of months at home, then you need to have that software, right? So whatever works for you, whatever is important for you, invest in that software and always buy the original version, okay? Because you never know when you want to do that important project and this hacked version suddenly, fails, then you're in big trouble, right? So for me personally, I have invested in a dozen softwares at least, because everything for me runs online. So right from my email automation software to webinar software, I have call scheduling software, I have software for putting up online forms on my website, then I have landing page softwares, and I have payment gateway software, billing software, cloud storage software. So I pay for a lot of these softwares because I need to use them regularly. So based on what is relevant to you, please go ahead and invest in good quality software. The next thing I want to talk about to you is a good writing board. So if you can see here, that is my new writing board. I bought it about a few months back, but of late I've started using it very diligently. And the way I use it is mainly to put out my main targets in terms of numbers, and then I track some important metrics. So I call it my dashboard or my scoreboard, and I write down all those important numbers that I need to track in my business, and I also put down some important things to do that are important for this week to be completed. I also do this on my notebook and sometimes on my computer as well, but when I actually write down on a board, it's so much more effective and it's right in front of my eyes. So hang a good writing board on your wall that you can see every day. The next thing I want to talk about is good furniture. Okay, by furniture what I mean is nothing fancy again, the basic stuff, but you need to have it. I used to, as I was telling before, work from my dining table and places like that, but because you're going to work for many hours at a stretch, you need to make sure that you have a good table, a good chair that is super comfortable for you. And I've also recently invested in a stand-up desk. If you can see, this thing over here is actually a stand-up desk. So I stand up and work from here sometimes, and when my work is done, I put it back. So it's really useful because it gets too boring too sluggish to sit and work all the time. So I alternate between sitting and working and standing and working. So it's really good for your health. So if you're going to work for many more months from home, invest in a good stand-up desk. Again, it doesn't have to be expensive. There are very good expensive versions online, but you can this one I just called a local carpenter and got this done. It's just a shelf that I can fold back and keep whenever it's not useful. So that's about the space. So once you have the space set up like an office, then you should start looking at, that's the second S, which is the schedule. When it comes to your schedule, you need to take care of a few things. First of all, you need to decide on your work timings. Now, because you're working from home, many a times it may be hard for you to believe that you're working. So if you go to office, you have a dedicated time, right? You go at 10 or 9 o'clock and you come back at 5 or 6 o'clock. So there is a discipline there. But when you work from home, at least in the initial few days, you tend to think that you can work at whatever time you want because now you have this newfound freedom. But it could actually be a big burden if you don't give yourself those stipulated times. Otherwise, what happens is you don't get into that mode of working, you feel lethargic, and your family doesn't understand that you work. I'll talk about family in a little bit in detail, later, but right now it's important for you to first decide what is going to be your schedule. Now, it need not necessarily be the same office hours that you were following before. Like in my case, for me, the best time to work is when my kids are at school. So that's like my prime time. And also early mornings are my times to do calls with my foreign clients. So before the entire family wakes up, from morning 5 to 7 are my call times where I get to connect with my foreign clients and prospects. So depending on your lifestyle, depending on who are there in your family, depending on what time would be what time would be convenient for you, you can flexibly decide your work timings, but decide on some timings. It need not be at one stretch. It can be spread across the days, but you need to decide on your timings. The next thing that you need to decide in your schedule is how are you going to start your day. So why this is important is for your mind to think that you're working, you need to have a certain routine. What I usually do is I look at the things to do list from the previous day night that I've written, so that I will now know that, okay, these are the things I need to be doing today, and I just mark the time next to it. For example, I would have decided that today I need to do a Facebook video. That's already decided the previous night. But today in the morning when I get to start my work, I mentioned 7 p.m. over there. So I know that from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. I need to be recording this video. So that's my way of starting my day. So you also can have your own starting routine. Some people get on a call with their team. That can be their way of starting their day. Or you could play your favorite music and get into that work mode, get all fired up. Or some people check their emails, though I would ideally say that use your email checking time in the afternoons when you're slightly bored and sleepy, but the early morning use for more productive stuff. So have a routine to start your day. Once you have that, other thing you need to decide is have a routine to also end your day. How are you going to finish your days? So I usually check what's happening inside my Facebook online community. So I have a community called Author Success Mastermind. So I would like to usually go and check what have been the posts throughout the day and just quickly reply to all the messages that have come there. So that way I know in my mind that my work day is over. So once I close my laptop, I have to remember that my day is over and not constantly check my emails and stuff on my phone. So a lot of these apps are deactivated on my phone right now so that I don't carry my work even after work timings. So that's very important to have a day end routine. Again, this could be different things for different people. Some people change to some other clothes, or I usually have a cup of tea at the end of the day. So have a method to break that work day so that you know that the work day is over. The next thing I want to tell you is get dressed for work. This took me a long time to understand. For the first couple of years of starting to work from home, I always used to be in my lounge clothes, either my night dress or workout clothes or some random stuff. So I always used to feel tired because I've never spent the time to prepare myself to get into the shower and change to my work clothes. So work clothes need not be formals with jacket and tie, not that, but at least what you think is formal in your mind. Like for me, something like this I consider as formal. So just change to something that's nice, that makes you feel fresh. So that's really important. So have that in your schedule. The next thing I want you to remember is you need to take some steps to avoid getting distracted. Now, when you're working, the most common distractions could be your mobile phone. So unless you're in a customer service job where you're going to get constant calls, at least during certain portions of the day, when you're going to do some deep work could be like writing a blog post or putting your mind into something creative. So when you're doing something like that really requires focus and attention, during those times, keep these things away. Put your phone away, put it in another room, turn off the internet. If you're not going to do some major research on the internet, you really don't need the internet for most of the things. So turn off the notifications by just turning off the Wi-Fi or the internet, and make sure there's nobody ringing the bell. So I usually do this when I get on a webinar kind of a mode where I don't want any kind of disturbance. So I tell the security downstairs that please do not send anybody for the next 1 hour. So this could be a little extreme for some of you, but it depends on your nature of work. If you're recording a video, then you don't want to have a lot of distractions, right? So depending on your nature of work, try to cut off certain distractions that you can easily cut off. Okay. So those were the first two S's, the space and the schedule. The third S, which in my opinion, the most important one, is support. Okay, so especially for those of you who are working from home for the first time, you need to first seek the support of your family. You need to make your family understand that though you're working from home, you're actually working and you're not just chilling. Because a lot of times people in your family, however well-meaning they are, they may not understand that you're really working. Because you're at home, maybe the TV is on and stuff like that, they themselves don't realize. So first of all, you create your space, you create your schedule, and the third thing is you go and inform your family that henceforth this is going to be your office space, this is how your schedule is going to be like, and they need to respect that. They need to understand that this is just like working at a full-time job. So they need to understand that. Otherwise what happens is, like in the initial days of me working from home, my mom would just give me a call and say that, hey, I'm going to buy some clothes for our relatives, would you like to just join me to help me make the choice? So it was very difficult for me to say no. My friends would call me and say, hey, your work is anyway flexible, right? So can we just go for a movie now? Because people don't understand that though you're at home, you're still working, right? So we can't blame them. We need to understand that they need to be educated about this. Now for me, typically what happens in my house is I have moved to a house which is very close to my mom's house. She's just a building away from mine, and it's really convenient because my kids are at my mom's place during the day while I'm working. A lot of people say, wow, you're so lucky. Yes, I am fortunate that my parents are supportive, but luck is not enough. I actually took the effort of finding a house which was way more expensive than my previous house, so that me, my husband and my kids could shift closer to my parents' house so that they can take care of my kids. And I had to have a lot of conversations with my parents. So it's not that easy that, they would just one fine day decide to help you out. You need to make them understand the value of the work that you are putting in, and request them with a lot of humility so that they understand that their support is really required. So have that open conversation with your folks. Make them understand that their support is really needed. So once you make your family understand, there are other people also to manage. Your kids, if you have kids. Because adults find it so difficult to understand. Then imagine when you have kids running around the house. It's really, really difficult for you to work and focus on your work when kids are around. So for me, usually, as I was telling, my most important prime time for work is when the kids are at school. But imagine a time like right now, when even the kids have no school, everybody is at home. So it's all the more challenging. So the best way to engage kids is to give them some work that they love doing. Like my daughter, she loves to declutter the home, because when I do it, I involve her. Like yesterday, for example, I wanted to rearrange my bookshelf. So this entire shelf that you see behind me, she helped me to color coordinate the books together and put them. So she likes doing that kind of task. So while she sees me do once, I give her the same task to go and do it in another room. And while she's busy with that for 1 hour, I get that 1 hour of time to do my work. Or just engage them with hobbies that they love doing. Like my daughter, she loves to color and draw and paint and do everything related, that is arty, even she loves doing makeup and stuff like that. Though the house can get messy, it's okay to just engage them with that and buy some time to do your work. Now what about kids who are smaller? Like I have so much gratitude for my babysitters. Without my 2 babysitters, I cannot function, I cannot do the work that I'm doing right now. Of course, my husband is very supportive, my parents are supportive, but more than that, my babysitters are completely hands-on when it comes to my children. And a lot of people who are working, who are entrepreneurs, fail to use this. Especially when you're in India, it is not that expensive to hire babysitters, but because of our own mindset that we need to be with our kids 24/7, what will the society say if we have babysitters, and all these kind of self-limiting beliefs, we deprive ourselves of this benefit of having somebody to take care of our children. And I used to initially feel guilty of doing this myself, but I feel now that my kids know and respect that I'm working. Especially my little son, he's 3.5 years old. But when I leave him at my mom's place and when I'm about to leave, he asks me, where am I going? And I tell him, I'm going to work. He says, oh, you're going to work? Then it should be okay. And he just goes back to his playtime. So that's how kids adapt when they realize that you are working. So, and my kids totally enjoy the time that they spend with me because they know that it is precious, and I also know how precious it is. So it's really the bonding time when we are actually not working and we are playing together. So kids really adapt, and their love for their parents do not decrease or decline just because you have some other people to take care of them during the day. So if you're going to invest a fraction of your income into hiring a good babysitter, please do that, because that time that you get is the time that you can make that money like in 10x amount, right? So think about all these things, guys. So I just hope this video was useful, because I know a lot of you are going to start working from home in the future, because it has a lot of other benefits. And today you may be forced to work from home, but once you realize the benefits of working from home, you may prefer starting to work from home. But provided you have all these 3 S's in place: the space, the schedule, and the support. Thank you so much for watching this video till the very end. I would love to know in the comments as to what was that one takeaway from this video that you're going to actually implement in your life. I would love to know that, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye-bye.